One of the biggest impediments to getting things done in the United States Senate when you have a majority, but not a 60-seat majority, is to filibuster. And the filibuster is a mechanism through which, even if you only need 50 votes to pass something, you need 60 votes to end debate on that very issue and move to the vote. And this is a mechanism that allows a party in the minority to indefinitely hold up voting on legislation and to obstruct and to do all of the things that Republicans led by Mitch McConnell love to do to Democrats. Now, Democrats could blow up the filibuster completely. This is called the nuclear option, and we've talked about it before, but it is a double-edged sword. And it could, as I've talked to you before about, it could come back to really bite Democrats when Republicans are back in the majority at some point in the future. This has been a point of contention about which there are reasonable positions on both sides. But in an interview with ABC News that aired last night, Joe Biden told George Stephanopoulos he does support reforming the Senate filibuster, not eliminating it with the nuclear option, but reforming it. Well, what exactly is the reform that Joe Biden is interested in? Let's take a look at the clip.
Zach, so aren't you going to have to choose? I know you've been reluctant to do away with the filibuster. Aren't you going to have to choose between preserving the filibuster and advancing your agenda?
Yes. But here's the choice. I don't think you have to eliminate the filibuster. You have to do it what it used to be when I first got to the Senate and back in the old days when you used to be around there. And that is that a filibuster, you had to stand up and command the floor. And you had to keep talking alone. You couldn't call for, no one could say, quorum call. Once you stopped talking, you lost that, and someone could move in and say, I move the question of. So you got to work for the filibuster.
So you're for that reform. You're for bringing back the talking filibuster.
I am. That's what it was supposed to be. Look, I think, don't hold me to the numbers, George, but I think between 1960 and 2000, there were I'm making this number up, I don't know. There were 50 filibusters. And now they're like 200 since then. Since that
just put a hold
changed.
on it, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, so the idea, it almost is getting to the point where there's, democracy's having a hard time functioning.
Now, this is notable for a few reasons. Now, just a couple of days ago, Joe Biden's press secretary, Jen Psaki, was asked about the filibuster during a press briefing. And she said Joe Biden does not want to change any rules on the filibuster. So that seems to have changed. But more importantly, on substance, Biden doesn't say get rid of the filibuster, just make it more difficult by requiring an actual talking filibuster. And this is an important detail to understand. Right now, senators can indefinitely extend debate on a topic and prevent voting on that topic by asking to extend debate, period. And just never allowing debate to end. When someone moves to end debate and vote, Republicans can say, no, I want to extend debate, and they're able to do it. In the past, senators actually had to hold the floor and speak and keep speaking to delay a bill. And the idea that Joe Biden is suggesting, and others have also mentioned, is to require the actual speaking to take place. So senators can't just ask for an extension and then another one, and then another one. They actually have to talk through the filibuster. And this would have two effects. First of all, it would require Republicans to actually organize to have back-to-back-to-back speakers in the Senate, never ending. With their 50 senators, they actually would be able to do it. But how long will they be willing to do it from a practical standpoint? 24/7, day after day after day. But maybe more importantly, a talking filibuster that goes on and on and on merely to prevent a vote on an issue is going to pick up media attention the longer it goes. And presumably it will come off as exactly the type of blatant obstruction that it is. Now, the possible political miscalculation is that we're assuming the current Republican Party would be mad about that and they would say, this must end, let's just have a vote. But the current Republican Party has been so propagandized that they might not actually be that mad about an endless talking filibuster. They might like it. But the gamble is that the left and the centrists and maybe some Republicans would say, guys, we don't have control of the Senate. This isn't really democratic. This has to end. You have to put the issue to a vote. Maybe that is what would happen. I don't know. Now, why does this matter bigger picture? It matters because filibuster rules in the next 2 years might actually determine, does Washington, D.C. become a state? Does Puerto Rico become a state? Does automatic voter registration get passed? And a whole bunch of other important issues. This is not trivial. And the point is that right now, it's too easy to filibuster with very little work and without much political cost. Now, there's a couple of other ideas that have been floated. One, this is not what Biden supports, but these are other ideas to affect the filibuster without ending it. One idea is you have to have 40 senators present to extend the filibuster. Right now, it's if you don't have 60, you can't end debate. The idea is to flip the onus and put it on Republicans to keep having 40 of their 50 senators in the chamber 24/7 to continue extending the filibuster. That would be a very good idea without blowing it up. The other thing is that the talking filibuster, it should have to be relevant to the topic at hand. In other words, if you are trying to end debate on automatic voter registration and go to a vote, you can't get up there and read a Dr. Seuss book to filibuster. You should be filibustering materially with something connected to automatic voter registration. And that's another possibility that could be done. We will see. This is a really big deal. And, it's one of these things where a lot of this stuff like, when is Joe Biden going to do his first press conference? Sort of like, it's an inside the Beltway story that also has very little impact on Americans. The filibuster is something a lot of people are not following and aren't aware of, but it actually does relate to things that would have a very direct and serious impact on Americans in terms of what it would allow the Senate to do. So we're going to continue following it. Now, this is Joe Biden's latest view on this issue. Let's now talk about the flip side of the coin, which is Mitch McConnell's view on the issue. One of our sponsors is Monk Pack. It's tough to get excited about most granola bars. They have a lot of carbs. They don't taste that great. They don't really satisfy your cravings. But Monk Pack has something totally different. Monk Pack Keto granola bars are sweet and delicious with a soft and chewy texture, only 140 calories, 1 gram of sugar, and only 2 to 3 net carbs, which make them work perfectly for the keto or low carb lifestyles. They come in excellent flavors like coconut cocoa chip, honey nut, blueberry almond vanilla. That's my new favorite. I love these because you can just grab them anytime. Maybe it's a quick breakfast, an afternoon snack when you're busy. Forget the dry, bland granola bars you've had in the past. Try out Monk Pack Keto granola bars. If you don't love them like I do, they'll give you all of your money back. You'll get 20% off when you go to monkpack.com and use the coupon code Pakman. The link is underneath this video.